Continuing from the previous episode 582. Chapter 1511. Snatching the Demonic Flame Essence. Swoosh. An enormous black light pillar shot down from the middle of the large formation. Its speed was frightening, and with a flash, it traveled across space itself. Even the magma sea region below had been forcefully split, creating a couple thousand-foot large magma pit. Ah! The body of the purifying demonic lotus flame and the black light pillar were caught in a stalemate. The heavenly flame sensed an extremely mysterious decomposition force erupting from the light pillar. The flame on the surface of his body became a little dimmer while facing this strength. A miserable cry that contained a great fury echoed across the sky. Bang bang bang! Faced with the strange energy within the black light pillar, even the heart of the purifying demonic lotus flame sensed a hint of danger. Its body abruptly swelled and transformed into a fire body that was 10,000 feet in size. The temperature of the surroundings rose. The magma below bubbled as numerous magma pillars continued to erupt. The rumbling sounds that were emitted seemed to herald the end of the world. The black light pillar formed circular ripples as this purifying demonic lotus flame put up a resistance. It even became slightly distorted. Everyone, pour your strength into the formation. Otherwise, all of us will die if it manages to break the seal. The hall chief roared out loud. His expression changed upon seeing this distortion. The hand seal of the chief of the Hall of Souls changed after this roar sounded. He maneuvered the vast and mighty Do Chi within his body to pour into the formation. The remaining individuals hesitated upon feeling his Do Chi. They clenched their teeth and quickly poured all the Do Chi within their bodies into the large formation. The formation quickly widened upon receiving the aid of so much Do Chi. The dark black light pillar became purer. The strange energy within it also became more terrifying. Trying to seal me? Who do you think you are? A furious roar reverberated from that enormous flame as it sensed the growing strength around it. The flame within the light pillar suddenly exploded without any warning. Wave after wave of annihilation forces ruthlessly smashed into the dark black light pillar. Grug. The crazy retaliation of the purifying demonic lotus flame caused the chief of the Hall of Souls group to turn pale. A mouthful of fresh blood shot out of their bodies. Their expressions became slightly weary at this moment. This battle with the purifying demonic lotus flame had been overly hot and intense. Even they were unable to continue on. Everyone, fight it out with it. The chief of the Hall of Souls wiped the trace of blood off the corner of his mouth. A ferocious expression surged onto his originally ordinary face. He bit the tip of his tongue. A mouthful of essence blood shot out and entered the light pillar. Grug. The expressions of the others changed upon seeing that the chief of the Hall of Souls was willing to lose his essence blood. Finally, they violently clenched their teeth and also spat out a mouthful of essence blood into the light pillar. Chi chi chi! Light suddenly surged from the light pillar after the 7 individuals began an all-out attack. Everyone watched as the enormous body of the purifying demonic lotus flame began to rapidly shrink. Although the heavenly flame continued to emit waves of furious roars, it was unable to stop its shrinking body. Tin Luo's sealing demon formation, seal. The chief of the Hall of Souls rejoiced upon seeing the flame's shrinking body. His hand seal hurriedly changed before he finally let out a stern cry. The black light pillar that spanned between the sky and the earth began to shrink after the cry sounded. Within a short instant, it turned into a 10-foot large circular pillar. A cream-white flame slowly rose within the circular pillar as a frightening temperature quietly spread. Success. Everyone's hearts felt some joy upon seeing this cream-white flame. After having experienced an intense battle between 7 4-star Do Shengs, they had finally sealed the purifying demonic lotus flame. Xiao Yan's eyes focused on the black light pillar. He swiftly refocused them a moment later and his eyes swept over the chief of the Hall of Souls. At this moment, everyone in his group was covered in injuries. Their auras were sluggish. The big battle with the purifying demonic lotus flame earlier had exhausted them. A temporary silence appeared in the sky after the purifying demonic lotus flame was sealed. Ha, this cooperation is really a delightful one. The purifying demonic lotus flame has finally been sealed and a disaster that could have befallen the Central Plains has been averted. Thank you very much. The chief of the Hall of Souls recuperated slightly before taking the lead to laugh out loud. He cupped his hands to Zi Yan's group. The other people's tight hearts relaxed after seeing him thank everyone. However, Everyone had just relaxed when a strange smile flashed across the face of the chief of the Hall of Souls. His hand suddenly grabbed at the black light pillar and the pillar flew toward him with lightning-like speed. Ha ha! Thank you everyone for today. My Hun clan will remember everyone's favor. Bastard. He is indeed not a good person. His actions caused everyone to feel startled, but they quickly recovered before furious curses echoed through the air. HMPH. How can it be this easy to snatch the demonic flame? An icy cold cry suddenly rang out when the black light pillar was dozens of feet from the chief of the Hall of Souls. The space around the light pillar became distorted as the direction it was headed changed. After which, it flew to the left of the chief of the Hall of Soul. The chief of the Hall of Souls became furious after seeing the demonic flame, which had almost reached his hand, fly away. His eyes were dark and cold as he glared at Ziyan, who had intervened. Ziyan was well versed in spatial strength. Even though she was not in her best condition, she could still distort space and change the direction of the light pillar. The chief of the Hall of Souls might have been furious in his heart, but he did not attack Ziyan at this moment. Instead, he hurriedly turned his head and cried out to Han Feng and the deputy hall chief, "Why aren't the both of you snatching the demonic flame?" Attack! The change had occurred suddenly, but it had not exceeded Xiao Yan's expectations. He had been aware that a conflict would immediately erupt after the temporarily alliance. This rushed unification was the weakest collaboration possible. The hands of friendship from cooperating earlier did not pose even the slightest hindrance in the face of the temptation of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Hence, deep shouts were made the moment the chief of the Hall of Souls yelled out. Xiao Yan's green and red bone wings swiftly appeared. These wings were flapped and Xiao Yan appeared in front of the black light pillar. He extended his hand and grabbed it. "You are seeking death." Xiao Yan's hand had just been extended when a dark and cold voice sounded above his head. This voice belonged to the deputy hall chief, who had been observing the situation. Xiao Yan's heart trembled upon sensing the wind flowing above his head. His hand turned from a claw to a palm as he slammed it into the light pillar, sending it in the direction of Xuan Er's group. At the same time, he suddenly pointed a finger toward the sky. Yellow spring finger, an enormous energy finger swiftly formed before it collided head-on with the deputy hall chief. An energy storm spread as the two staggered back. That is the demonic flame essence. Quickly snatch it. Almost everyone reacted to the situation at this moment. Many fiery hot eyes landed on the dancing black light pillar in the sky. The demonic flame essence had been sealed within it. The strength of whoever managed to obtain it would undoubtedly soar. Swoosh! Numerous pairs of eyes stared at the black light pillar with a fiery heat. Within a short instant, the rushing sound of wind appeared throughout the sky. Almost all the experts who were still alive unleashed their agility skills as they grabbed at the black light pillar. Ha ha! I have obtained the demonic flame essence. An old high-level band Sheng in yellow robes managed to grab the black light pillar with his hands amid this free-for-all, but his loud laugh had barely sounded before 10 sharp palm winds ruthlessly smashed into his body. Half of his body blasted into a bloody fog as a sharp miserable screech replaced the laughter in the sky. Xiao Yan knit his brows upon seeing this chaotic scene. He waved his hand and 2 jade bottles swiftly flew out. They landed in Ziyan's and Gu Nane's hands. "Quick! Recover your internal injuries." Xiao Yan cried out to the two of them. Currently, the experts whose strength had crossed the 4th star of the Do Sheng class were a little weak. Hence, they had not intervened even until now. Whoever was the first to act would undoubtedly be more likely to snatch the demonic flame essence. Ziyan and Gu Nane did not utter any unnecessary words after receiving the medicinal pills. They immediately consumed them and recovered their Do Qi. Of course, they still needed to be wary of their surroundings to avoid a preemptive strike by others. Xiao Yan turned his head to look at the chaotic region. A glow flashed within his eyes as the green-red bone wings on his back were flapped. His speed became many times faster than these ordinary Do Shengs. Within a couple of flashes, he had charged into the crowd, but the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls swiftly rushed over like a ghost before Xiao Yan could act again. Clearly, the deputy chief was targeting him. "Stop him!" Xiao Yan let out a cold cry after sensing the deputy chief intervene once again. A thought passed through his heart and the fire slave, which he had been subdued temporarily, charged forward without due care for its life. Xuan Er, Ji Yu Qing Yang, Yao Lao, and the others also attacked together from around the fire slave. In an instant, they got entangled with the advanced 3-star Do Sheng deputy hall chief. Swoosh! Xiao Yan flapped both of his wings while the deputy hall chief was stopped. He appeared beside the light pillar and grabbed it, but he discovered that the light pillar did not move when he tried to pull on it. His eyes turned cold as he leaned his head to the side. There was a black-robed young man staring at him with indifferent dark eyes from the other side of the light pillar. Hun Feng! Xiao Yan's face slowly became icy upon seeing this person. There has never been someone who has been able to snatch something from my hands. Hun Feng stared at Xiao Yan and spoke with a dense smile. Xiao Yan curled his mouth upon hearing this. He threw his palm over in the process. There will be someone from now on. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 583, Chapter 1512, Earthshaking Clash. A powerful flame spread over Xiao Yan's palm as it was thrown forward. It unceremoniously slammed toward Hun Feng's face. With just you? An icy cold smile rose on Hun Feng's face. He looked at the powerful heavenly flame on Xiao Yan's palm and the corner of his mouth widened. I have heard that you have merged a couple of heavenly flames. Although this might be powerful in the eyes of others, it is not worth mentioning in front of me. Hun Feng placed his palms together as he coldly laughed. His right palm was suddenly swung forward. He did not dodge. Instead, his right palm made firm contact with Xiao Yan's palm. Bang! A powerful energy ripple swept apart as both palms made contact. It forcefully pushed back the neighboring two Banshengs as space itself became a lot more distorted. This merged heavenly flames is the what you are so proud of. Today, I will show you how feeble it actually is. Hun Feng laughed a sinister and cold laugh. An extremely mysterious purple-black light suddenly flashed across those pure black eyes. An unusual devouring strength erupted from his palm, and Xiao Yan suddenly discovered that the heavenly flame on his palm was being absorbed into Hun Feng's body a little at a time. Moreover, these heavenly flames had lost contact with his senses after entering Hun Feng's body. This fellow is indeed a little strange. This devouring caused Xiao Yan's heart to feel slightly startled. His hand immediately shook as he resolutely withdrew his palm. His right foot kicked the black light pillar with lightning-like speed and sent it flying into the sky. At the same time, his expression had become stern. The Do Qi in his body crazily surged like an ocean wave. Many extremely powerful Do skills were unceremoniously sent flying toward Hun Feng. Although Hun Feng was only an advanced 2-star Do Sheng, this fellow was even more dangerous than the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls in Xiao Yan's eyes. Flame-splitting tsunami, God Seal skill, 4-seal merger, bang bang, splitting wind tiger roar palm, black collapsing force. Hun Feng did not feel the slightest fear when these sharp attacks erupted from Xiao Yan at this moment. Not only did he not withdraw, he instead unleashed the Do Qi within his body to its limits. Many extremely powerful high-class Do skills were unleashed. They spread with shocking speed. In an instant, energy erupted in the sky, and the earth-shaking Do skills caused many to be quietly shocked. A purple-brown sea of flames appeared in the sky. All the remaining experts began to flee as this sea of fire spread. Only Xiao Yan and Hun Feng continued to remain entangled within this sea of flames. Xiao Yan was becoming more fierce through fighting with the help of the fire's might, but Hun Feng did not fall to a disadvantage. That terrifying sea of flames did not pose an obstruction to him. That Xiao Yan does indeed have some ability. He is able to battle Hun Feng equally. The chief of the Hall of Souls looked at the two, who had engaged in an extremely intense battle. He slightly frowned. Although Hun Feng was merely an advanced 2-star Do Sheng, his fighting strength was similar to a 3-star Do Sheng. Additionally, the Do skills he practiced were all the top Do skills of the Hun clan, significantly raising his fighting strength. He had not expected Xiao Yan to be able to fight Hun Feng by relying on his initial 2-star Do Sheng strength. Give me a little more time and I will be able to fight again. At that time, there is no need to. The eyes of the chief of the Hall of Souls rapidly flashed. Finally, he looked at the sky above the sea of fire. A black light pillar was floating at that spot, emitting a faint luster. It seemed to possess a demonic force that caused one to feel a crazy impulse. This time around, my Hun clan will definitely obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame. The chief of the Hall of Souls clenched his fist and let out a low roar within his heart. Yellow spring finger, yellow spring palm, the grave-looking Xiao Yan flashed in the sky and appeared above Han Feng. The finger and palm were unleashed simultaneously as a huge energy finger and palm broke through the air. They ruthlessly rushed toward Han Feng below. Futile actions. However, Han Feng coldly smiled and shook his head when he saw Xiao Yan's ferocious attack. He pressed his finger against the empty space as two thumb-sized purple-black light rays suddenly erupted from his finger. These rays of light collided with the yellow spring finger and yellow spring palm. No energy explosion sounded upon contact. The two weak light rays simply eroded the yellow spring finger and yellow spring palm in an instant. Have it been devoured? Xiao Yan's eyes became cold after sensing this devouring strength. After this exchange of blows, he began to gain an understanding of Han Feng. There seemed to be something within this person's body that possessed the mysterious effect of devouring many things. Even some of the heavenly flame within his body would be swallowed if he was not careful. If you only possess these techniques, this battle can end now. Han Feng slowly lifted his head. Those pure black eyes had gained a purple-black light in them. A symbol slowly appeared on his brow. Han Feng's aura soared the moment the clan tattoo appeared. In the blink of an eye, his aura had suddenly broken through to the third star of the Do Shen class. A thought passed through Xiao Yan's heart after seeing Han Feng summon his clan tattoo. Xiao Yan's vast and mighty spiritual strength lingering on his brow quietly surged. A lifelike body slowly appeared beside him. Spiritual avatar. Han Feng's eyes hardened after seeing this spiritual avatar form beside Xiao Yan. The strength of this spiritual avatar was not weaker than Xiao Yan himself. Moreover, the spiritual strength that Xiao Yan possessed was the only aspect in which he felt inferior. It was likely that no one other than the chief of the Hall of Souls at his peak could compare with Xiao Yan's perfect heavenly state spiritual strength. Even the core genius of the Han clan was no exception. 5-ring flame expelling technique. Xiao Yan rushed high into the air after the spiritual avatar appeared. Clusters of heavenly flames surged out of his body. After which, they transformed into enormous fire spirits and swiftly formed the 5-ring flame expelling formation. Xiao Yan's spiritual avatar formed numerous hand seals with lightning-like speed with a grave expression while Xiao Yan's actual body unleashed a powerful strike. Xiao Yan's spiritual body suddenly swelled a couple thousand feet in size as a 10,000-foot large spiritual illusion surfaced on his body. Yellow Spring Divine Anger. Moreover, this was the Yellow Spring Divine Anger unleashed by Xiao Yan's spiritual avatar. Its might was even more powerful than when it was unleashed by Xiao Yan's body. The sea of flames spread across the entire sky. An enormous 5-colored fireplate slowly rotated as a wild and violent energy gathered within it. A solemnness surged onto Han Feng's face when faced with Xiao Yan's attack. A purple-black Do Qi began to surge onto the surface of his body. Do Qi rose and a fire seedling seemed to have suddenly flashed by. The surrounding experts hurriedly pulled back after having sensed the battle atmosphere of this world. They were afraid of getting implicated by the assault. 5-ring flame expelling plate. Xiao Yan's expression was icy cold as he stood in the sky. His finger suddenly pointed at Han Feng below. A couple thousand-foot large fireplate that was above his head suddenly whistled down. Space itself cracked an inch at a time as it traveled. Even the magma sea region tens of thousands of feet below forcefully split apart until a 10,000-foot wide gully was formed. Yellow Spring Divine Anger. The illusory figure beside the spiritual avatar suddenly opened its mouth the moment the fireplate whistled down. An earth-shaking spiritual attack suddenly rushed forward. Mo, heaven-swallowing mirror. The grave expression on Han Feng's face became more dense when he sensed this terrifying attack. A mouthful of purple-black light was spat out of his mouth. It immediately transformed into a purple-black mirror-like light curtain, which spread in front of him with lightning-like speed. Everything that touched this purple-black light curtain, regardless of whether it was a heavenly flame or energy, was completely devoured in an instant. The earth-shaking attacks from both parties suddenly collided in front of many stunned eyes. No brilliant energy sparks or earth-shaking explosions appeared. Only a cruel momentary erosion existed. The flame on the 5-colored fireplate became dim at a speed visible to the naked eye upon contact with the purple-black light curtain, but an extremely intense energy fluctuation formed on the purple-black light curtain. The fluctuations rapidly spread and finally covered the entire light curtain. That sonic spiritual attack quickly arrived behind the fireplate. It ruthlessly crashed into the light curtain in waves. HMPH. Hun Feng's body shook after facing such a terrifying attack. A muffled groan was emitted from his throat. He had not expected Xiao Yan's attack to be this unexpectedly powerful. As this wild and violent energy strike came down, the devouring strength of the sky-devouring mirror could not be fully unleashed. Break eye! Xiao Yan glanced at the continuous ripples forming on the sky-devouring mirror from the sky. His body moved, and he merged with his spiritual avatar. The huge illusory figure, which was about to vanish, once again widened its mouth and emitted a soul-stirring spiritual sonic wave. Mo! The spiritual assault arrived in the blink of an eye. Hun Feng's expression became a lot uglier at this moment. His toes pressed against empty space while his body hurried back. At the same time, the sky-devouring mirror shattered. Ha ha! Thank you for allowing me to win. Xiao Yan faced the sky and laughed out loud after forcing Hun Feng back. His body moved, and he once again appeared in front of the black light pillar. He reached out with his large hand and grabbed the light pillar in it. Purifying demonic lotus flame, you are mine. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 584. Chapter 1513. Xiao Chen's intervention. Xiao Yan reached out with his hand in front of the many pairs of eyes while he stood in the sky. Subsequently, he firmly grabbed the black light pillar with his hand. The moment his hand touched the light pillar, he was able to sense a slight heartbeat being emitted from within. This heartbeat seemed as though there was a living creature within the light pillar. This purifying demonic lotus flame has actually reached such a level. It is really no different than an ordinary human. Surprise flashed across Xiao Yan's heart as he sensed the heartbeat being emitted from the purifying demonic lotus flame sealed in the light pillar. He was about to quickly turn around and withdraw when the surrounding space suddenly began to fluctuate. A figure broke out of this space. His large hand was extended and all of Xiao Yan's paths of retreat were sealed. The purifying demonic lotus flame is not something that you can take. Xiao Yan's heart quivered after hearing this dense cry appear beside his ear. Chief of the Hall of Souls? This fellow has recovered really quickly. Xiao Yan swiftly lifted his head while feeling shocked. He could see the Chief of the Hall of Souls pouncing over like an enormous eagle. A dark black dough chi quietly gathered on his hand before it ruthlessly grabbed toward Xiao Yan's head. From the looks of it, he was intent on delivering a fatal strike. The speed of the Chief of the Hall of Souls was as quick as lightning. Adding to the stillness of the surrounding space, Xiao Yan was unable to dodge at this moment. There is no demonic flame, but there is a fire lotus. I shall give it to you. Xiao Yan did not panic at this critical moment. His many years of training had allowed him to experience all sorts of situations. It was impossible for him to lose himself to panic because of the Chief of the Hall of Souls. His body pulled back while an extermination-like energy fluctuation suddenly appeared from his sleeve. Xiao Yan's sleeve was suddenly turned into dust due to this fluctuation. A five-colored fire lotus appeared in Xiao Yan's palm. The five-colored fire lotus was an extermination fire lotus made up of 5 genuine heavenly flames. Xiao Yan did not slight an opponent as strong as the Chief of the Hall of Souls. He had used his strongest attack as his first strike. It was fortunate that Xiao Yan's strength had soared. Otherwise, he would not have been able to perfectly merge 5 types of heavenly flames in such a short amount of time. After the fire lotus was formed, Xiao Yan's expression remained indifferent as he stared at the rapidly growing human figure in front of his eyes. At this moment, his heart had become unusually calm. The lightning-fast figure of the Chief of the Hall of Soul gradually became clear in his eyes. I'll give it to you. The Chief of the Hall of Souls was so fast that it was terrifying. In a flash, he had appeared in front of Xiao Yan. At this moment, Xiao Yan's body tensed like a pulled bow. It erupted in an instant and the extermination fire lotus in his hand was thrown in front of the hall chief. Explode! A ruthlessness flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he tossed the fire lotus out. He did not pull back. Instead, he exploded the extermination fire lotus. The speed of the Chief of the Hall of Souls was too quick. As long as the Chief of the Hall of Souls was given the time to catch his breath, he might be able to escape the area where the fire lotus was the strongest. Lunatic! Xiao Yan's act of risking it all caused the chief of the Hall of Souls to furiously curse. His body finally revealed some signs of sluggishness as it suddenly shot back. However, the fire lotus exploded while he did. Bang! A loud shocking sound caused one's ears to become momentarily deaf as it echoed through the distant sky. The sky seemed to have sank into a mysterious silence after that extremely powerful noise was emitted. A 10,000-foot large firestorm swept over the sky. One side of the storm was connected to the sea of magma below while the other extended to the sky itself. It seemed as though space itself had emitted a cracking sound from not being able to bear the strength of the rotating storm. Many stunned eyes watched this storm. They were as tiny as ants beneath this large and overbearing firestorm. This person, Han Feng's expression was a little grave as he stared at this firestorm. Even at his full strength, he might not be able to receive such a terrifying attack. Will anything happen to the Hall Chief? The Deputy Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls flashed down and asked in a deep voice. The strength from the merger of heavenly flames might be quite strong, but Xiao Yan's actual strength is far too weak. It will not be an easy matter to kill the Hall Chief. Han Feng faintly replied, "Prepare yourself. We will immediately act and snatch the purifying demonic lotus flame once we have the opportunity to do so." The Deputy Chief of the Hall of Souls nodded. His eyes observed the sky with caution. The enormous firestorm raged for 10 minutes before it gradually scattered. 100,000-foot large seemingly bottomless pit appeared in the sea of magma below after the storm scattered. Looking from a distance, it appeared like the large mouth of an unfathomable demon. Kai, the space a short distance away became distorted after the firestorm disappeared. Two figures appeared. One was a somewhat pale Xiao Yan while the other was Zi Yan. You are really too crazy. If you ended up getting caught in it, you would also have been destroyed by the fire lotus. Zi Yan parted a lock of purple hair in front of her forehead as she glared at Xiao Yan and furiously chided him. Xiao Yan smiled, but he did not say anything. He lifted his head and scanned the spot where the firestorm had disappeared. There was a human figure stepping through the empty air and slowly walking away from that spot. He is indeed not dead, huh? Xiao Yan involuntarily shook his head upon seeing this human figure. He appeared somewhat disappointed. No wonder you are someone who has managed to cause my Hall of Souls to repeatedly fail. You do deserve to be looked at in a better light. The human figure slowly walked out of the smoke and revealed a pale face. That figure was surprisingly the chief of the Hall of Souls. He had managed to survive the extermination fire lotus, but from the hint of blood on the corner of his mouth, he was not in a good state after suffering such a fire lotus strike. Swoosh swoosh. The expressions of Shu and Er's group changed when they saw that the chief of the Hall of Souls was still alive. They quickly moved their bodies and surrounded Xiao Yan. Their eyes cautiously stared at the Hall Chief in the process. Do the both of you think that you have fully grasped my strength when we cooperated earlier? If that is really the case, the both of you might perhaps be shocked now. The chief of the Hall of Souls glanced at Shu and Er's group. After which, his eyes paused on both Zi Yan and Ji Yu Nane. He gave a strange smile before lifting his hands and gently forming a seal. Following the formation of this hand seal, the aura of the Hall Chief suddenly soared in front of many shocked pairs of eyes. Within a short dozen-plus seconds, he had broken through the barrier of the advanced 4th star of the Do Sheng class and vaguely reached the initial 5th star of the Do Sheng class. 5-star Do Sheng? The expression of Xiao Yan's group immediately became ugly upon sensing the aura of the chief of the Hall of Souls, which had suddenly become powerful. This Hall Chief had been hiding his strength? You dare to intervene even after reaching the 5th star of the Do Sheng class? Looks like you have treated the agreement between the ancient clans as nothing. Ji Yu Nane spoke in a deep voice. If the chief of the Hall of Souls had merely been an advanced 4-star Do Sheng, there was no need to fear him if he cooperated with Zi Yan. However, if the other party was a 5-star Do Sheng, the both of them would have little chance of a victory. Ha ha, I have merely luckily taken half a step into the 5th star of the Do Sheng class. Honestly speaking, I am not really a 5-star Do Sheng. Hence, the agreement has not been broken. The chief of the Hall of Souls faintly smiled. After which, he stepped through empty space without uttering any unnecessary words as he slowly walked toward Xiao Yan's group. Hand over the demonic flame essence. In your dreams. Zi Yan's eyes were slightly cold. She took a step forward and golden light surged. It agglomerated into a large golden dragon that wildly shot toward the Chief of the Hall of Souls. Shatter! However, the Chief of the Hall of Souls slowly shook his head when he sensed Ziyan's attack. He pressed his finger gently against the air. One saw the big golden dragon burst apart when it was 100 feet in front of him. HMPH. Ziyan softly moaned and staggered back since she had a connection to the exploding golden dragon. Everyone involuntarily felt their expressions change when they saw Ziyan suffer a serious injury from just one strike. The gap between a 5-star Dousheng and an advanced 4-star Dousheng was this wide. If this had occurred earlier, the Chief of the Hall of Souls would not have been able to defeat Ziyan with such ease. Both Ziyan and I are exhausted. It seems that this fellow has been able to recover extremely quickly. Even if both Ziyan and I are to work together, we will still not be a match for him. Yu Nane stated in a deep voice. Although an ancient void dragon is extremely powerful, attempting to challenge someone of a high level is difficult. Hand over the demonic flame essence. This chief shall allow all of you to leave in peace on account of our cooperation earlier. The Chief of the Hall of Souls placed both of his hands behind him. Han Feng and the Deputy Hall Chief had rushed behind him. Their eyes were sinister as they stared at Xiao Yan's group. Xiao Yan's eyes flickered. Veins appeared on his arm as he tightened his grip on the black light pillar. The Chief of the Hall of Souls was too strong. Even using the extermination fire, Lotus had not seriously injured him, but it was impossible for Xiao Yan to abandon the demon flame essence. I have long since heard that you are as cunning as a fox. However, this chief will not give you an opportunity to escape today. The Chief of the Hall of Souls merely laughed while Xiao Yan's eyes flashed. He suddenly stepped through empty air as his body slipped by a couple of people in a ghost-like fashion. He appeared in front of Xiao Yan as his palm reached for the top of Xiao Yan's head. Young fellow, die. The Chief of the Hall of Souls unleashed his full strength with this attack. An ordinary person only saw space fluctuate before the hand of the Hall Chief was only an inch away from the top of Xiao Yan's head. How can my descendant be killed just because you say so? A skinny hand suddenly appeared above Xiao Yan's head just as the Chief of the Hall of Souls was about to grab Xiao Yan. A finger was flicked and the hand of the Hall Chief was sent flying. At the same time, a somewhat hoarse voice slowly echoed across the room. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 585. Chapter 1514. Old Man Hun Mo. That palm, which originally had no problem striking Xiao Yan, ended up experiencing an unexpected situation. The expression of the Chief of the Hall of Soul became gloomy. His eyes glanced at the spot behind Xiao Yan. A person in ordinary clothes was quietly standing at that spot. This person appeared extremely ordinary, but his aura was strange and unfathomable, causing one to have difficulty guessing his exact strength. Who are you? The Chief of the Hall of Souls revealed dark and solemn eyes while he cried out. Although he possessed a high position within the Hun clan, the era when Xiao Zhan was alive far too long ago. Hence, it was impossible for him to recognize the person in front of him as the blood axe Xiao Chen, who had been quite renowned in the Xiao clan back then. Ancestor Xiao Chen. Xiao Yan quickly recovered. He quietly sighed in relief after Xiao Chen finally intervened. This ancestor of the Xiao clan had not fought ever since he had escaped the illusion. He merely hid by the side regardless of the intense battles Xiao Yan fought. He would only intervene when Xiao Yan was truly facing a critical moment of life and death. Xiao Chen waved his hand. His character was quiet and eccentric. He was unwilling to say much at this moment. All he did was lift his foot and slowly walk in front of Xiao Yan. His eyes stared at the Chief of the Hall of Soul on the other side before he asked in a hoarse voice, "He is a member of the Hun clan, right?" Xiao Yan slightly nodded. "In that case, I'll just kill him." Xiao Yan felt awed in his heart after hearing Xiao Chen's low and deep voice. His eyes were a little strange as he glanced at Xiao Chen's back. Only at this moment did he discover that he had never truly been able to see through the actual strength of this ancestor. Although Xiao Chen had been able to defeat Ziyan and Yu Nane while in the illusion, he appeared to have barely been able to defeat them. Based on Xiao Yan could infer, Xiao Chen should be an advanced 4-star Dousheng. Even if he was a little stronger, it was likely that he was only an initial 5-star Dousheng. But after Xiao Chen's words escaped his mouth, Xiao Yan finally realized that his guess had been a little on the low side. A couple thousand years of being imprisoned in the illusion. Even if he could not train normally during this long period of time, the little accumulations of achievements, like how dripping water can eventually erode through a stone, would still be enough to shock people. Looks like Ancestor Xiao Chen possesses some confidence since he dares to utter these words. You are a member of the Xiao clan? The chief of the Hall of Souls narrowed his eyes as he stared at Xiao Chen. A moment later, he suddenly recalled the words Xiao Yan had spoke earlier. His eyes abruptly shrank while his tone was filled with disbelief. How can it be possible? The Xiao clan has already declined. How can it still possess an elite Dou Sheng? From Xiao Chen's appearance, it was obvious that he had not simply managed to train to this level within a short few decades like Xiao Yan. In that case, he had definitely existed for a long time. Why was it that the Hun clan did not possess any information on him? Xiao Yan's expression did not show the slightest sign of being affected when he saw the Hall Chief's shock. His feet merely stepped through the air as he advanced forward. With every step he took, his aura soared like a churning wave. It rose higher and higher as he became even stronger. Intermediate 4-star. Advanced 4-star. Intermediate 5-star. Xiao Yan and the others revealed surprise as they stared at Xiao Chen's back. Xiao Chen's aura had broken through the 4th star of the Dou Sheng class within a couple of breaths' time and had reached the intermediate 5th star of the Dou Sheng class. This strength was a level stronger than the Chief of the Hall of Souls. Who exactly are you? A change finally appeared on the expression of the Chief of the Hall of Souls after sensing Xiao Chen's terrifying aura. He let out a stern cry as Hun Feng and the Deputy Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls rushed over from behind him. Their eyes revealed a changing expression as they stared at Xiao Chen. They had clearly started to panic because of this sudden unexpected change. No wonder Ancestor Xiao Chen has been able to endure in the illusion of the purifying demonic lotus flame for so many years. His strength has actually reached such a level. A joy flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he muttered. You are really irritating. Xiao Chen merely frowned when he heard the Chief of the Hall of Souls' stern cry. He clenched his hand in the empty space in front of him, and a large blood-colored object formed in his hand. In the blink of an eye, this object turned into a giant blood-colored axe. He rotated his hand and the blood-colored axe tore through the air in an instant. It was accompanied by waves of sonic booms as it furiously hacked at the Hall Chief's group below with lightning-like speed. Quick, withdraw. The expression of the Chief of the Hall of Souls changed when he saw Xiao Chen attacked. He waved his sleeve and forced back Hun Feng and the Deputy Hall Chief. After which, his mouth swelled and a 5-foot large black light ball swiftly shot out of his mouth. Waves of miserable screeches were emitted from this ball of light as though countless of souls were devouring each other within it. Swish! The blood-colored figure flashed in the sky. Everyone saw a huge blood-colored axe appear above the black light ball, which had just been spat out of the mouth of the Chief of the Hall of Souls. A faint voice soon rang out. One could see a bloody line cut through the dark black light ball. After which, a bam sounded and it slowly cracked into two. Grug. The black light ball had yet to even explode when it was slashed into two by the enormous blood-colored axe. The Chief of the Hall of Souls spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression became a little weak as he hurriedly withdrew with a pale face. Xiao Chen's attack was unbelievably sharp. It seemed as though the world would split under the edge of the blood-colored axe. That overbearing aura caused one's heart to tremble. 3 sky-breaking axe. An axe gently slashed the Chief of the Hall of Souls' attack apart. Xiao Chen did not hold back. He took 2 steps forward without uttering a word. The large blood-colored axe in his hand was slashed forward 3 times with a swoosh sound. The 3 axe attacks merged together, and an ordinary person could only see a red light flash across the sky with their naked eyes. Only experts like the Chief of the Hall of Souls could clearly see 3 bright red bloody lines rushing through the sky. They arrived in front of him almost instantly with an extremely terrifying speed. The 3 bloodlines appeared weak, but the Chief of the Hall of Souls could sense an extreme danger from them. Spiritual barrier technique. The body of the Hall Chief trembled because of this danger. His soul surfaced from his brow, and the arms of his soul strangely exploded. Buzz buzz. Black clouds suddenly surged from all directions and blotted out the sun the moment A, B, C. Both of his spiritual arms exploded. This almost endless sky seemed to have been saturated by a black fog in the blink of an eye. Countless numbers of sharp spiritual waves spread from the black fog. It appeared like a demonic sound that crazily invaded the depths of everyone's mind. Bang bang bang. 3 bloody lines tore through the many layers of black clouds. As the first bloody line broke into the clouds, many ripples began to swiftly form on it. Within a short instant, the first bloody line was forcefully scattered. Even the second bloody line had vaguely become visible. Split. A black fog spread as a sudden hoarse voice slowly gave a command. Soon after, layers of black clouds suddenly burst apart before a bloody line rushed out with lightning-like speed. Finally, it shot into a certain part of the black cloud with shocking speed. Grug. The sound of a mouthful of fresh blood being thrown up was emitted as the bloody line shot into a specific region. Soon after, the black clouds that permeated the sky stilled and swiftly withdrew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Everyone could see the sky when the black clouds withdrew. They quickly looked over and saw the chief of the Hall of Souls' body covered in blood. He stood trembling a short distance away. A terrifying wound had appeared from his shoulder to his abdomen. One could even see moving internal organs inside his body. Clearly, that strike from earlier had seriously injured the chief of the Hall of Souls. Xiao Chen displayed an indifferent expression as he glanced at the chief of the Hall of Souls, but there was some surprise in his eyes. Clearly, he had not expected the Hall Chief to survive. An unknown number of experts had fallen to this strike back in his era. The chief of the Hall of Souls revealed ferocious and dense eyes as he stared at Xiao Chen. He hurriedly took out a couple of jade bottles from his storage ring. After which, he applied the medicinal liquid inside to his wound, causing a sizzling white fog to rise. Both of his hands rapidly formed a seal. A black light curtain suddenly appeared and imprisoned both Xiao Chen and him. Old Mo, it is time to intervene after having watched the show for such a long time, right? The chief of the Hall of Souls suddenly cried out after having created the black light prison. Xiao Yan and the others revealed a sudden change in expression after hearing the words of the chief of the Hall of Souls. This Hun clan had hidden an expert in this place? Oh, Hun Mie Sheng, you are really a disappointment. A low elderly sigh finally sounded while Xiao Yan's group swept their eyes around. Xiao Yan suddenly turned his head. His eyes landed on a group of people a short distance away. A gray-clothed old man, whose strength had merely reached the high-level Ban Sheng class, shook his head. He slowly stepped forward with a face full of disappointment. Some changes occurred on his face as a pair of long black eyebrows were lowered, giving him an extremely mysterious appearance. Xiao Yan had roughly glanced over this old man amid the chaotic battle earlier, but the old man had been chased by a fire slave until he was forced to flee in all directions. Hence, Xiao Yan had not paid much attention to him, yet he had never expected this ordinary old man to hide his strength so well. Old Man Hun Mo, you are here? Does your Hun clan really plan on breaking the agreement? Ji Nane and the elders from the other ancient clans revealed extremely ugly expressions as they looked at this black-eyebrowed old man. Their eyes vaguely contained some fear. The agreement is nothing when it comes to the demonic flame essence. This old black-eyebrowed man, who was called Old Man Hun Mo, smiled. His eyes swept over Xiao Yan's group, but he did not attack. Instead, he softly sighed and shifted his eyes to the distant empty space. He inquired, "Old demon from the small pill tower, why are you still hiding yourself now that this old man has shown himself? A. Is there a sun in this magma realm? B. More like a common expression the author used without considering the context. C. The author does that quite often. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Continuing from the previous episode 586. P Alpha ND Alpha, No New, 1. SOM Chapter 1515, Cattle Herdman. P Alpha ND Alpha, No New, 1. SOM The hearts of everyone quivered after hearing the words of Old Man Hun Mo. Many startled eyes looked to that space. Was there actually an expert, whom they were unaware of, hidden there? The old demon from the small pill tower? Xiao Yan's eyes also looked in that direction. A thought passed through his heart. Could it be that this Old Man Hun Mo was referring to the mysterious ancestor of the small pill tower? His heart involuntarily rejoiced upon coming to this conclusion. Regardless of the situation, both the pill tower and him were on the same side. This mysterious ancestor would likely not feel any enmity against Xiao Yan's group if he appeared. Oh, I knew that the Hun clan would not play by the rules. That space was quiet for a moment as all gazes present focused on it. Finally, it began to fluctuate. An unusually old and experienced voice suddenly remarked. The ripple in the space became more intense the moment this sound appeared. Soon, a bull stepped onto empty air and appeared in this space while it let out a low moo. Oh! The eyes of Xiao Yan's group landed on this bull, or perhaps the person on the bull. However, they were startled after getting a good look at his appearance because an elderly person was not what they saw. The person on the bull had a small figure. He was wearing ordinary rough clothes. His eyes were clear, and his face appeared tender. From his appearance, he appeared as though he was a boy in his teens. Numerous pairs of eyes were completely stunned as they looked at the youth on the back of the bull. They were momentarily speechless. They had not expected the elderly voice from earlier to have come from the mouth of a youth. First elder mentioned that the ancestor likes to have fun experiencing lives. He continues to borrow bodies to be reborn. From the looks of it, this is indeed true. Old demon, you still like to act mysterious like in the past. Old Man Hun Mo looked at the cow-rearing youth. He coldly laughed coldly, but his originally ancient well-like eyes had gained an additional fear. I would not have needed to show myself if the Hun clan played by the rules. The cow-rearing youth stretched his lazy waist and smiled as spoke. His unusually clear eyes looked at Old Man Hun Mo as he laughed. This rule was agreed upon back then, yet the Hun clan has actually dispatched you. I wonder what the clan's intentions are? My Hun clan must obtain the demonic flame essence. Old demon, it is best that you do not be a busybody. My clan head is very interested in you. After so many years, your current self has probably already reached the peak of the 9th tier of the Zon pill. Should you advance further? That will be the legendary Tier 9 golden pill. Even my clan head will not be able to restrain himself from attacking you. Old Man Hun Mo laughed a strange laugh. The cow herder faintly smiled upon hearing this claim. He replied, "It is not as though he has craved me only recently, but even if I were to deliver myself to his mouth, do you think he would dare to eat me? HMPH, you should stop trying to use your age as an advantage. Once my clan head exits his retreat, he will naturally force you to understand the fate of opposing my Hun clan." Old Man Hun Mo's eyes turned cold as he spoke. Bang! The black light curtain a short distance away was suddenly blasted apart after Old Man Hun Mo spoke. A figure flew back. One of them spat out a couple mouthfuls of fresh blood along the way. Only then did he stabilize his body while wearing a pale expression. From his appearance, he was clearly the chief of the Hall of Souls, who had unleashed the light curtain earlier in an attempt to trap Chen. Hun Mie Sheng, you have really humiliated the name of the chief of the Hall of Souls. Old Man Hun Mo knit his brows and made a comment after seeing how miserable the chief of the Hall of Souls looked. Old ghost, you should stop trying to suppress me with your age. You should be even more aware of that fellow's background compared to me. The chief of the Hall of Souls wiped the trace of blood off from the corner of his mouth as he furiously cried out. He had already guessed the other party's identity when he took out that huge blood-colored axe earlier. The only person who could use this strange weapon in such a sharp fashion within the Xiao clan was the renowned Xiao clan's blood axe Chen from back then. However, no one had expected this person, who had gone missing, to appear in such a place at this moment. Blood axe Chen. It is unexpected that you have survived until now. However, it could be considered a blessing. If you had been in the Xiao clan, your fate would have been similar to Xiao Zhan and the rest. Old Man Hun Mo lifted his head. He looked at Chen as Chen slowly walked over while holding his large blood-colored axe. An icy cold luster flashed across his eyes. Chen's footsteps paused. He glanced at Old Man Hun Mo and slightly frowned. He sensed an aura that was far stronger than the chief of the Hall of Souls from the other party. This aura was such that it would not be easy for him to defeat the other party. Ha ha, the Xiao clan is indeed an insect that will not remain still no matter how it is beaten down. Chen, you deserve to be congratulated for living until now. The cow-herding youth slightly smiled. He was extremely old and it was possible for him to address Chen, an old demon who had lived for thousands of years, as an equal. You are that fellow from the Pill Tower back then. Chen's eyes glanced at the young cow herd. Although Pill Tower Elder's appearance had drastically changed, Chen was still extremely familiar with that unique aura. Moreover, There seemed to be only one person in the entire world who possessed such an aura. The young cowherd smiled. His smile appeared extremely sentimental on that youthful face, but everyone understood that an ancient feeling of having seen through everything was hidden within that smile. Ancestor, the first elder from the small pill tower, had finally recovered from his shock at this moment. He immediately knelt down. In his excitement, even tears had begun to flow down his old face. Even he had only managed to meet this guardian of the pill tower a couple of times. He was incomparably excited now that they had met again. Ha ha! You are little Mo, right? It is unexpected that you have also become a Do Sheng. The young cowherd smiled. He gently waved his small hand and the first elder was lifted to his feet. Now is not the time to catch up on old times. Xiao Yan, hand the demonic flame essence to me. Xiao Yan was slightly startled upon hearing the words of this young cowherd. He raised his head and saw a warm smile on the youth's small face. Although this smile appeared extremely strange on a youth, one would instantly trust him for some unknown reason. This old fellow has turned into a child. How strange. Ziyan softly muttered beside Xiao Yan's ear. Isn't this something that you liked to do most back then? Xiao Yan bitterly smiled and shook his head. He clenched his teeth. With a wave of his sleeve, he threw the black light pillar toward the young cowherd. HMPH. Old Man Hun Mo's eyes became slightly cold when Xiao Yan threw the black light pillar. A cold snort sounded beside everyone's ears like muffled thunder. That snort contained an extremely powerful spiritual assault, causing the heads of many people to emit a giddy feeling. Advanced 5-star Do Sheng. What a frightening strength this old fellow boasts. Xiao Yan's eardrums emitted waves of piercing pain. His heart was filled with shock. The strength of this old fellow was far too frightening. If they were to fight head-on, Xiao Yan would probably not even be able to receive one strike. Swoosh! Old Man Hun Mo's body disappeared after the cold snort left his mouth. The next instant, he appeared near the light pillar and reached out to grab it. However, Old Man Hun Mo suddenly discovered that the space around him had strangely undergone a change while his hand was about to land on the light pillar. The space shook and his body appeared where the young cowherd had been. The youth, however, had strangely appeared at the spot where Old Man Hun Mo had been earlier, as though the both of them had changed positions in an instant. Such an unexpected swap had caused everyone to feel flabbergasted. They had not even detected the reason for the switch. Spatial shift. 6-star Do Sheng? You have actually broken through to the 6th star of the Do Sheng class? Old Man Hun Mo stood in the air at a loss. He suddenly recovered an instant later and involuntarily cried out in shock. There existed a great gap between every level within the Do Sheng class. The chief of the Hall of Souls was able to easily defeat Ziyan after leaping from the advanced 4th star of the Do Sheng class to the initial 5th star of the Do Sheng class. One could gain an idea of the enormous gap between the two from this. Even though this Old Man Hun Mo was an advanced 5-star Do Sheng, he did not possess an ability to retaliate against this young cowherd, whose strength had reached the 6th star. The chief of the Hall of Souls, the deputy chief, and Hun Feng revealed somewhat ugly expressions when they saw this exchange. They were completely silent. A 6-star Do Sheng was extremely rare even in the Hun clan. Only a handful of Grand Elders possessed such a strength. It was unexpected that the ancestor of the small pill tower had reached such a terrifying level. No wonder the Hun clan would stop the Hall of Souls each time it wanted to attack the pill tower. It was because the small pill tower could call on such an existence. The young cowherd ignored the exclamation of disbelief from Old Man Hun Mo. He grabbed the black light with his small hand. He slowly observed the demonic flame essence within it in front of Xiao Yan's anxious eyes. Old demon, are you planning to be enemies with my Hun clan? Old Man Hun Mo cried out in a stern voice while wearing a dark and cold expression. How foolish! The young cowherd glanced at him and shook his head. He randomly tossed the light pillar into the sky. Old Man Hun Mo revealed a joyous face. He was just about to snatch it when he hurriedly stopped himself because of the young cowherd's next sentence. Purifying demonic lotus flame, you are indeed worthy of being ranked 3rd on the heavenly flame ranking. You have purposefully allowed yourself to be sealed in order to see them fight among themselves. All you need to do is to benefit from their fighting. You have hidden yourself very deeply, but you cannot hide from me. Come out. The young cowherd slowly lifted his head. He stared at the churning black light pillar in the sky. His clear eyes stared at the demonic flame essence inside as he indifferently laughed. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible.